Good morning, T-Rex. Good morning, Steve. We're a little late. We've been fixing things. We've been trying to fix things. Fix the tide clock. You know, you're supposed to set the tide clock when there's a full moon, technically at midnight when there's a high tide. But I set it this morning, and it's about 3.5 hours until high tide. 62 degrees. We fixed this thermometer too at 8:34 on September 18th, the day after the full blood super harvest moon. How you feeling about today, T-Rex? You ready to go out the door? What do you think? Yes. And you? Yes. And TK? Yes. Can you hear me now? I've also been working on the audio. I'm wearing my Hollyland Lark wireless microphone. It's a lavalier. And when I zoom in, it should not change how I sound, unlike the last couple of days where I was using my iPhone dual microphones, and you never know which one's going to work. And as long as this comes back with audio on it, I think we're in good shape. I tested it a couple of times because sometimes I'll do the whole recording and there's nothing there. Good morning. Sparrows? Is that what you are? Say something. Bye. Sorry. What do we have in the sky? Ooh, beautiful. Cirrus, altocumulus. It's a layered sky. We've had an inversion for several days, radiational cooling each night, and that leaves a layer of yuck. That's a layer of pollution right there under the inversion, but things are going to start changing. The internet is just full of content of nature and weather and lunacy, the moon, that is. And this is it's evolved into about a half-hour, almost like TV show, where you get the weather, you get the nature, you get the cats, you get the dogs, you get the updates on the garden, you get your pumpkins. Heavy dew, look at that. Again, that's when it gets all wet without any rainfall. Because of the radiational cooling, the temperature cooled to the dew points last night. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's go to what the sky looked like last night. So many images of the moon. There was a slight eclipse of the moon. Eliza in Massachusetts, thank you for sharing. That was not a chickadee. Haven't heard a lot of chickadees. Sorry. Eliza's moon, it did not look like a blood moon. It did not look red. It looked quite white. So the sky was clear enough, the cloud was thin enough that we had a view, but it just didn't turn that blood red that sometimes it does when you have a partial eclipse. And so many images of the moon. Doug Kent right up here at Great Hill. Thank you, Doug, with the flag and the moon in the background. That was about, 7:30? Gets dark so early now. And Mary in Hanover, there's the moon. And then Mary's sister, Janet, got a hold of that image and added some texture. Embellished the moon with the witch. That was great. She did that with her finger on the iPad photos. Talented. And I think for the win in New England last night, I had to go to Weir Lundstedt, my partner in crime surfing and skiing in Merrimack, New Hampshire, I believe, where he had the full moon and the sundog off the side of the moon. That's part of the halo phenomena. A sundog is often a prism-like rainbow-looking thing that appears next to the sun, but it happened last night with the moon, which technically is still sunlight reflecting off of the moon, creating that moon dog. Either way, thank you all so much for all the moon contributions. And also, the internet is rife with images from the Wasatch Range. It has started snowing. We saw it in California about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it did snow in California again this week, but now it's into Utah and Wyoming, so the image is coming out. Matthew Johnson, great follow, meteorologist there near Salt Lake City, shared these images from the region's snow capitals there in Cottonwood Canyon and such. And also Jackson Hole got the snow. So it's a pretty impressive storm out west, and Matthew was actually tracking that squall line as it went east from Salt Lake City, and the temperature today was about 30 degrees colder than it was yesterday. And I want to show the lightning map. The lightning map shows where the energy centers are, and you have a little lightning there south of Cape Cod. You get more lightning around the Gulf of Mexico, and you have tremendous lightning in North Dakota pushing north into Canada. That's that western storm, which a lot of times we're saying, wow, when's that going to get here? Well, it's not really, because there's blocking in the atmosphere. You know how we've had the same weather day after day after day? It's been the good kind of blocking for New England with the high pressure and the beautiful weather day after day. And now we're going to start getting into the other kind of the blocking, where there's going to be this storm coming in from the south, and that's going to slow down and stall for several days, impacting at least coastal New England and perhaps all the way up into parts of southern Vermont. It's a really tough forecast over the next several days. It's almost like we're going to just have to call the play-by-play on the weather as this system comes in. Now let's go to the temperature map from this morning. I still see some 40s with calm air there in northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, so another really nice night with the radiational cooling. And at the south coast now, temperatures are in the 60s. Dew point has come up into the 60s, and you can see the air is now coming in from the northeast, from Long Island Sound to Cape Cod and the islands. And the wind is going to be now from the northeast or east until further notice. We have a multi-day nor'easter setting up. Here is the Boston 5-day meteo. Every time we've showed this, it's getting more and more bullish on the rainfall. So today, the clouds thicken up, the sun through the clouds, temperature near 80, and then the temperature gets stuck in the 60s, and the dew point also in the 60s, with rain beginning tonight and continuing off and on through Saturday. So that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The wind is still from the northeast, and it's actually going to stay that way into Monday and Tuesday. So we're having a multi-day nor'easter. And with the just past full moon, we're also going to have some coastal issues with possible flooding. I lifted the Situate forecast for the tide heights, and you can see it's a very low tide each evening and a very high tide each midday and midnight. And starting about 1 p.m. tomorrow, we're rivaling, getting close to minor flood stage, and then it's going to go up and up and up from there. So we are going to have minor coastal flooding and probably some serious coastal erosion when I show you the wind map. You want to start with the wind map? Is that what I heard? All right. I didn't show the satellite yet, though. I got to show the satellite with I said on the internet this morning, that dog is barking. That is a huge plume of heavy rain and thunderstorms. We saw the lightning a few minutes ago, extending from south of Nantucket west into Pennsylvania. Some of those cloud tops casting shadows, convective rains coming at us. And even though it's not a named system, it's going to roar up into a beastly storm over the ocean gradually over the next several days. So here is that wind forecast with just a little bit of wind starting to show up, a little bit of purple there. That's sustained wind. This is sustained wind. The arrows show it coming from the east-northeast, sustained 10 to 20 knots near the coast from Long Island Sound to Cape Cod. It's just 1,006 low, and our old high-pressure system is moving out. We're actually going to have a weak low to our north tomorrow, so that's going to inhibit any strong winds tomorrow. But then after that low in northern New England pushes out, you can't really see it, but we're going to have new high pressure coming into southeastern Canada and northern New England starting on Friday and then lasting and strengthening into the weekend as that low pressure system kind of wobbles around. It's only about 1,007 low, and it breaks into pieces, and now it's starting to stall, and we have low pressure that's going to kind of wobble south of us as high pressure builds in northern New England. So it's not a case of a storm getting stronger, it's a case of a high pressure getting stronger. So by Saturday and Sunday, look at this huge area of wind. Purple sustained 20, red sustained 30 to 35 knots out over the ocean to our south, and a tremendous fetch. That is the wind coming across the water from about Newfoundland all the way to New England and the mid-Atlantic coast. So there's going to be some monstrous surf and coastal erosion and coastal flooding, and I'll just issue a citizens coastal flood watch for beginning Friday and through the weekend into next week. It's still going until about day 10. It looks like the next day we might not have wind from the northeast. Wow, so we could have wind from the northeast for almost 6-7 days in a row, even though the worst of the storm will have receded out to sea. Now let's go to the North America Euro day by day, and there are 3 main storms on the map here. The one that brought all that heavy snow and thunder to the western states, goes up into Canada and kind of stalls. Our low is stalling off to the south of us, and there's a new one kind of forming and stalling over Colorado. So why don't I stall these maps at 5 a.m. on Sunday, and you can make out the 3 low pressure systems at the top there near Hudson Bay. That's what, about 1,004 or so. The one south in New England's about 1,006. What you can't see is the blue H. They didn't draw it in there, but it's about a 1026 high north of Maine, and also over Colorado. You can't see the L because it didn't draw it in, but that's snow in the Colorado Rockies and about 1,010 millibar low there. And so now if we keep putting these back into motion, the storms don't move very much because we have blocking in the atmosphere. There's a developing negative North Atlantic oscillation, think Greenland block. And so that storm is going to stall south of us. Now I think after a cloudy, mostly cloudy weekend, the sun should come back out next week here. And it's changed a little bit now in the long range. We don't really see another backdoor front coming in next Friday, although it's a Friday thing, so it probably will happen. And high pressure here late next week and maybe next weekend is a nice weekend. And let's go south and see where's that hurricane that we're talking about, possible Helene in the Gulf of Mexico. Not so much today as it was there yesterday. So that'll be something to watch. The National Hurricane Center is now acknowledging that something is probably going to develop out of the Caribbean. But that's not really going to impact us. This storm that's going to be stalled to our south will have the scope of a major hybrid nor'easter and the scale of wind strong enough to be classified as a tropical storm that is greater than 35 knots. But it's going to be a cold core. So, and that means that it's not going to get a name, but it's going to lash us. Oh yeah, rainfall. How about if we just go with the Euro rainfall here in New England, and you can see it kind of coming up. It doesn't start raining really until sunrise tomorrow in parts of the Boston area, and then it just kind of is relentless from there. Looks like it tries to die out or whatever, move away on Friday, but then it backs up on Saturday. Now this backing rainfall on Saturday into Sunday, and I'll just stop it on Monday. I think that's when the worst of the rain should be done in this first system. It really lost that system for next Wednesday that we talked about yesterday, but this is what's on our plate. And you can see if you put the cursor right over near Chappaquiddick, it shows more than 6 inches of rain there between Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, and it shows heavy rains actually all the way up into southern Vermont. So the stakes are pretty high. I think we can issue a citizens flood watch for rainfall. Generally after such a dry period, often droughts, I'm not calling this a serious drought, ends with a flood. And with this sort of juiced up tropical system and the cool, relatively dry air in place, it is going to be a real tenacious, tough forecast here for rainfall. But we are going to water the lawns. So what do we have for and more? We get the cat's over there. We get a tangled up T-Rex. He just doesn't know what to do because he can't move right now. The and more. Let's see. We started yesterday on Cape Cod and the turkeys and then the osprey. I talked about the osprey flying south. I think these are the juveniles that were just circling over my head, making plenty of fun sounds. So I love that. And I'm going to miss the osprey. They're going to be gone pretty soon, and maybe today or tomorrow. But they're going to have to fly through that storm. And then we got back to Weymouth, and Steve and Mitt were happy to see us, and I got back, and Steve and Mitt were happy to see me, and then just sort of the setting sun, and we had our own sun dog right here, so that's going to be our and more with a time lapse at the end of yesterday's sky because it was so interesting. We're going to have a lot of interesting sky time lapse. That was another long one. This is a weather nature show, and only a couple of commercials, and we really appreciate you watching. Don, I hope that the audio sounded better for you today, and I thank you for all the comments, Tom and Rochester and everybody. Peter where are you? In Belchertown, Peter? For all your comments and play-by-play and the temperatures. It's a community. We're all one community, and I love this. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Just finished editing a long out the door weather and more and more and more. T-Rex has been so patient waiting to go out for his walk. Another walk. Oh, wrong way, Rex. You're really missing it. You should come see what's in the other yard. This way, Rex. Come on. This way. Yeah. Out by the compost pile. Yeah. There's stuff out there. What do you see? Now, you can get hurt I want you to sign a disclaimer, because if you chase those turkeys and they get mad at you, I don't think you're really a match for them. And look, he doesn't even care. T-Rex is so indifferent with turkeys. He's so used to them. So it's really interesting that this family still has poults in September. Late bloomers. The sun did come out. It's gorgeous. So the fog burnt off. One more day on Cape Cod of this just relentless high pressure. Oh, they learned to fly. T-Rex helped teach them how to fly. Now T-Rex only learns how to fly. We'll be even. Yeah, Rex, you go that way. Come on, this way. And the babies just came down from the trees. Any more left up there? While we're in the garden, should we take a look at some of these ornamental flowers? Beautiful. What do they call these, lanterns? Something like that. Nice lanterns. Angela, do you mind if I take one and try and grow it in my rescue garden? Thanks. Let's see what's in there. Feels like paper. Hard to do with one hand. Wow, cool. What a berry. Huh. That must be the seed, right? We'll have to investigate further. It's very sticky, and there are the seeds. Just come transplant them over here. Oh, someone gave us some soil. Yay. How about that ornamental T-Rex? Come. Good boy. On the Regis Memorial pathway. Only a matter of time before we woke Macy up. Sorry. We'll go home now. All right, osprey, right overhead. So word has it that the adults have headed south without the kids. But somehow they just know how to get there. They're probably wondering, Mom, Dad, where'd you guys go? So the last of the osprey, they're gonna head off into those clouds, which is off to the south, that big rainstorm. Light wind allows them to just circle on a weak thermal right there. Their lunch is right down in that water. Tons of snapper blues, minnows. Abundanza. Power up for your first flight migration ever. South. To, I think, as far as Venezuela, perhaps. T-Rex knows. We're back in the hood, huh, Rex? The cats. Different, not Bass River, but Fore River. We've had about 83 or 84 on the dashboard thermometer, T-Rex. Even though it's not as bright as it was. Summertime weather continues. Steve, happy to see us back. T-Rex and I. Yeah. So it means you get to go outdoors. He loves to come outdoors. Look at that mouth. So we started the spring off with a lion's cut I think it's all filled back in. Yeah. He could hurt me if he wanted to. And planes are taking off to the east. Light sea breeze. And whoa, pigeons fly by. Here comes the cloud from former PTC 8, not Helene. And the sundog, part of the halo family. Ring around the sun or moon, snow or rain soon. Here's to some rain. And with a full moon, you get very strong tides, very high tide, very low tide. And there's Bass Rocks right there sticking out. So no one will hit it because they can see it. The high tide is at midday and midnight. Low tide is at sunrise and sunset. Should be an interesting colored moon. I'm not sure we're going to be able to see it. So this could be it for today. Just in case. Let's start the piano music. Diamonds in the sky. Refraction of sunlight off of ice crystals. 22 degrees off of the sun. 25,000 feet above the surface of the earth. Just enough wind to move the boat. Coming from the east, that's why planes are taking off towards the east. Wicked low tide.